Okay, hi, hello everyone. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Julien Bourcerie. I'm the head of Open Innovation and Corporate Venture at the Bouygues Construction. For those who might doesn't know, Bouygues Construction is a general contractor. We're active in 60 countries and we have 12 billion of revenues in the world. Well, I will now introduce the topic I'm in charge of today, and I'm really pleased to share that with you because it's a great topic actually to defend. It's robotics in the construction. Well, you see my screen. I changed it recently, and I put that screenshot of the movie called WALL-E. WALL-E it's a robot. Its mission is to clean the planet after the human destroyed almost the planet. It's a great to start by that because as you will see, robotics is an option to have a more sustainable construction in the coming years. To start talking about robotics, I'm talking about robotics, but many people in the world at the moment are sharing their story about robotics. You see startups in France, you see some documentaries on Netflix talking about the robotics in the construction, but also you have some challenges, innovation challenges about robotics and some researchers that are sharing their research and the works they are actually doing on robotics in the construction. And that's probably the newsfeed that you have on your LinkedIn if you are really interested in the construction right now. So I said it at the beginning, it's a momentum for robotics in the construction. Some facts to defend that. The first one is the number of robot patents in the construction industry. It has almost tripled between 2010 to 2019. So it's a fact. There is a lot of interest at the level of the research coming from general contractor, from manufacturers of robots. Another figure to share this idea of the momentum, it's the venture capital yearly volume. So this is an index. And as you see on this graph, the construction tech venture capital has really outperformed the traditional venture capital activities. And it includes in this construction tech, the robotics. Robotics is a big part of this yearly volume of investments in startups. Another that you are probably comfortable with, as it has been shared a lot during the past years, it's the evolution of the productivity in the construction sector. So as you see in the red line, the construction has not really changed its productivity in comparison to the manufacturing. And we expect to have this similar adoption of robotics that we had in manufacturing, and that could be the answer to a better productivity in our industry. So I came with the macro fact, the macro figures. Now I'm gonna go a bit deeper in the qualified situation I've encountered. At Bouygues Construction, I get the opportunity to be in front of many operationals that are sharing with me their intuition and their wishes for having a robot for any situation. It could be to remove some bins on the construction site or to pour concrete between formworks. For every situation, I see that on the field, people are asking for robots. They are asking that for what? For safety. That's the first point. Most of the tasks that are handled in a construction site that's human labor. And of course, there is this matter of health and safety on the construction site, the repetitivity of the tasks, and the idea to get faster in their tasks. Now I've said that, I want you to really keep in mind, as I see it in this presentation, that for me, robotics in construction is still a market of innovators and early adopters. If you go on any construction site, you will probably see one or two robots, but you won't see like a factory made of many robots. So we are still in these first stages towards more robotics in construction. And if I do some history, in construction, robotics came first with the offsite industry. So it's a bit like a factory process. So it's really close to what you can encounter in the manufacturing. And it really began with the offsite construction. Then we see what we call the single task robots. They are really active on site and they are here to do one task. One task could be the plumbing, could be painting, could be the concrete finishing on the slab, as you can see the last one on the screen. So that's some example of one single task robots. And it's new. You've probably seen that kind of engines, of course, and that machinery on construction site. They are now more and more autonomous. And we see with the manufacturers, like you can have Kubota, Hitachi, or Caterpillar, or whatever, they are starting to equip their new equipment, their new product with autonomous systems, but also on the retrofitting with solutions that could be applied to any heavy equipment that you can encounter on construction site. And this one is really new. Now, why am I here? That's because probably at Bouygues Construction, we get the chance to have this robotic department early on our civil works department. And for example, we had some success. It was about 10 years ago. It started. It's called like the jet snake. It's a snake. It's a good name to clean the cutting wheels in the tunnel boring machines. So it's really a heavy task for a worker to do. And we have this example. We also developed new other robots like the Robi that has been designed for the drillings, repeated drillings in tunnel boring in tunnels. Also the Telemac to replace, remove the cutting wheels on the tunnel boring machines. And I shared two other examples because, of course, when we talk about robotics, I have to mention the one from Boston Dynamics, but also I like to share with you another example. It's called Anibotics. We've done some pilot with them at Losinger Marazzi, one of our subsidiary in Switzerland, on autonomous moving robots, and we are experimenting the Spot robot from Boston Dynamics, also in the north of France, and doing some research on it. Also, more operational, more human-related robots. We've got this mid-weight load displacement robots. The one is a bit more autonomous, called Evidence. It follows you like a dog. Everywhere you go, you have this trolley following you and able to displace like 300 kilograms of loads. And the other one is Carriole, one we've developed with a startup, which is called Carriole, and they developed this specific product for the construction industry. That's some example I had. And the last example I will share with you, it's called L'Extant. So it all started with an R&D project at Bouygues Construction on the remote control of tower cranes. The idea is to make the pilot more comfortable and more assisted, augmented in its operation of the tower crane. And for that, we've been working with L'Extant, a startup in France, with a full system that allows us to replicate the environment of a tower crane and to pilot it. Once I've said that, you can imagine that we've got robots everywhere at Bouygues Construction. Be honest, it's not the case. Adoption is really hard. Adoption is hard at Bouygues Construction, but in any company I know, even my competitors, the best one, it's something that's really new, that is really changing the way we are doing our jobs. When we're talking about robotics, the first robots that came to us, the companies that were offering robots, they came with this idea of selling robots to general contractors. And we are now experiencing new business models that are closer to offering a service. And that's really important as our industry is more service-oriented in a relationship between contractors, subcontractors, and so on, than an industry that is able to handle robots and to buy them. Also, I mentioned a lack of competencies. So far, a site engineer, a worker, a manufacturer, or equipment department in a general contractor, they don't know about a robot. They don't know how to maintain a robot. They don't know how to design a robot. So the idea is really how can we have a full ecosystem that is able to handle from end to end the application of a robot. You've already seen this robot, but when we think about having a robot on site, most of the operational, they ask for variable tasks and evolving in a non-structured environment. That are two facts that are really important when we are considering about using a robot. And it's the most complicated task, doing it variable and in a non-structured environment. Also, the industry is not really prepared so far. The end-to-end process from the design to the as-built is not ready on the construction site. You have many players entering in it. Also, the subcontracting and the fragmented value chain, it makes the adoption even harder, complicated. Of course, when you think about doing the plumbing with robots, you have to work with your subcontractor when you are a general contractor. So it adds a new player in the game. So it's really something that has to be thought and before going forward. Now I've said the robotics is of course hard with adoption, but it is also a huge opportunity for construction. And we have to keep that in mind, even if you are an innovator, if you are the early adopters, keep in mind that tomorrow we will have this huge opportunity. First, I'd like to mention what I've seen with some of my colleagues from Saint-Gobain or any manufacturer of materials. That's for the manufacturers a new way of applying materials using a robot. So you have to think your materials maybe differently and to invent new materials or new ways of applying those materials on a construction site. Because if it's a robot doing the task, it will not have the same sensibility as could have a craftsman or a worker on a construction site. Then I will also talk about the clients. I shared this on this photo. That's something that we've done in Switzerland with Hilti, and we have this client, really proactive, really a technology adopter, an early adopter. He likes that, and he knows that to change the whole construction chain value, to transform it, the clients need to be at the forefront and need to be at the impulsion of the first step towards more robotics. And it's thanks to him that we launched this experiment with Hilti, with their robot for the installation of different parts on the construction site. Something I'm really convinced doing a tour at Bouygues Construction, talking about robotics with many people on what are the limits of the adoption, what do they need, and so on. I see that the first point is probably the acculturation to what is a robot. So I would suggest for any company going on robotics to first go in a robotics factory to really understand what it is to build a factory, and then to work also on what will it change when you use a robot on a construction site? How many tasks needs to be done by a robot to be competitive? Is that to repeat 100 times the same task, or do it 1,000 times, or just 10 times? And the price also is of course something to address. Experimenting a new ecosystem and a new system, that's what we are doing at Bouygues Construction, as we are really convinced that to implement a robot on the construction site, we need to do it as a system. We won't just bring a robot on a slab and pour concrete. We will rethink the whole system and the whole method about pouring concrete on a slab. And for that, we have developed a program called a Construction Lab. The idea is really to implement several R&D projects together, different solutions, and reinvent a whole system, and not just a unitary solution, a robot that we will place on a construction site. I think it's really important to have this whole 360 view of what it will impact and what needs to be transformed at the same time that you are using robots on a construction site. I put this structure because I really think also that the opportunity is to use robotics as a vector for construction transformation. I mentioned it earlier, one of the barriers to the adoption of robotics is the digital process from end to end. If we are able tomorrow to have this whole platform, a digital platform, from the design to the as-built to the maintenance of the building, then we will be able to have robots on site. And I really think that if we are pushing to experiment, doing some pilot with robots on construction site, then the digital transformation will come also, and it is coming almost in the same momentum. So that's really attractive for the robotics for tomorrow, for the construction industry. As a loop, I started with the robot called the Wally. I take this example because Wally is here to clean the planet, but I think that Wally could also be the key to accelerate our transition towards a sustainable construction, meaning that robots could be also for great help in the recycling, in the cleaning, in the preparation of construction sites, in the reuse of different materials and so on. And I really think that we have to consider robots as a key element for the climate change that is at the front of the construction industry. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you. And I thank you very much. And I'm really pleased to share that with you. Thank you.